All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of the pre-shift restaurant style. I do this for a living. I've been in this business for 30 years, cooking in restaurants. I've opened restaurants. I've closed restaurants. I've worked in corporate America. I've done the resorts, the hotels. I've been on TV. I've done all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it comes down to clear communication. Do we have good communication with each other? And in restaurants, we constantly focus on our pre-shifts. And if you're not familiar with a pre-shift, let's break down what a pre-shift actually is. Before we begin the service, we gather all of the team, we get into a huddle, and we go over our notes for the evening. We talk about what we have on the books as far as reservations, what guests are coming in, what special occasions they might be celebrating. We recognize them by name. We assign tables sections. We give the specials of the day. We talk about the dishes. We allow them to taste things. We discuss any items that we might be out of, things we might have altered, any menu modifications, allergies. We go through every bit. And we do this for the front of the house. We do this for the bar. We do this for the back of the house because we want to have a really good service. We want to have a great shift. That's the goal. That's why we do pre-shifts. So I was thinking about this. I get on stage all the time doing keynote speeches, and I talk a lot about recipe cards as clear communication, how chefs write recipe cards, and we have these templates to ensure that our ideas, our concepts are actually executed to the standard that we want. So we give the details and the descriptions and all the pieces of cook it for this long, measure it for this much time. Like all of these things that we have to communicate, we put on paper. And as I was thinking about this, I was like, well, I wonder if leaders really understand the value of a pre-shift. I have a friend who just started at a hotel and he was talking about, they call it a huddle. Huddle, pre-shift, convo, whatever you need to have before you go into your next play, your next shift. That's what we're going to be focusing on in this group. Now, I started a Skool community. I'm uploading courses on there. I'm building conversations. We're doing live Zooms. If you want to join my Skool community, definitely click the link below. We would love to see you in there. But this is about our agenda today. So let's get into it. I put together a quick little agenda for us because I want us to talk about some real stuff. So this is our mindset check-in. Right? And imagine you've got your team around you, because I do this in my office before I go to work. I have this conversation with myself before I go talk to my teams. I have to work through my notes and ensure that I've got my 90 seconds ready to go, and I've typed up a thorough strategy of communication to ensure that I can have a good strategy session with my team. So let's go with our first one. Before you lead others, check yourself. What are you bringing into the building today? Think about that. What's weighing on me that I need to leave at the door? Everybody's got life going on. We are all struggling. We all got something going on. It's hard to leave it at the door. I get it. Me too. Me too. Right? We got family members that are passing away. We got sicknesses. We got financial struggles. We got everything in the world weighing us down outside. But inside, we have the ability to control our situation. We have the ability to change our narrative for a few hours and say, you know what? I've got this. I'm going to walk into it and I'm going to write this story on a brand new page. And that's what I love about leaving things at the door. It's just a quick opportunity to reset. What energy do I want my team to feel when I walk in? People feed off of your energy. They feed off of your emotion, your nonverbal communication. Whatever you're carrying, they're going to feed off of it. My favorite stories are always when I get to Expo and people can feed off of my energy. If I'm hot and I'm angry or I'm assertive or I'm short or I'm just being condescending, the staff are going to feed off of that. If I start to go down, they're going to go down. So as a leader, we have to remember to keep ourselves here. That's the goal. You've got to ensure that you are aware of your energy and your nonverbal communication. Too many times we don't talk about that part. Am I leading from pressure or from purpose? That's a good one right there. because pressure, right? It bursts pipes and it makes diamonds. So it's good and bad. But are you leading from that pressure, or do you have purpose? The whole point of having this pre-shift, of having this conversation, getting your mind right, getting your team's mind right, is so we can lead with purpose. So we're not reactionary. We're not just going off the cuff. We have a plan. We have a game plan that we're going to stick to, that we're going to follow. And I think that's something that is extremely valuable. Our next section that we're going to talk about is culture focus today. How will I reinforce the culture that I want today? You know, my whole reason for starting my very first restaurant was essentially I got tired of working for people that didn't have good culture. Plain and simple. I was in situations where I didn't feel appreciated. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel connected to. And here's the thing. I make mistakes too. Even now, there's no game plan. There's no rule book to follow. There's essentially don't make the same mistakes twice, because it's extremely expensive if you do. And if you do it a third time, you're risking some stuff. So you got to be extremely cautious with that. But remember, you have the ability to control what culture you want within your business. How are you allowing people to be seen, to be heard? How are you creating an environment that they want to be a part of, that they want to grow up to say, you know what, I work there. I'm proud of that place. That's always the goal. And you're going to get it wrong. I get it wrong. We have to learn from that. We have to have those conversations and recap what happened there. That's such an important part of this. One behavior that I want to model. I think about that for myself all the time. What do I want to emulate today? Who do I want to emulate? Besides myself, right? I love being authentically me, but what else am I seeing that I want to emulate? I love finding inspiration and examples to say, you know what? I can take that and I can make it mine. I can put my own story on it. I can put my own personality on it. I can create it to be something different. And I think there's something very special about that. One thing that you'll recognize publicly. What's one thing that you want to recognize publicly? It could be a positive. It could be a negative. It could be an employee. It could be a coworker. It could be a skill. It could be an achievement. Whatever it was. What's one thing that you want to recognize publicly? I think that's such a key piece. What's one standard I'll reset privately if needed? Now, I like this part, privately, because sometimes you need to reset privately. You need to go for a walk. You need to go into the cooler and shut the door. You need to go into your car for a few minutes. When do you need to reset privately? I think throughout the day, there's moments. I have those moments for sure. And I have to regroup myself because I know the team, they're watching me. They're feeding off of me. They're using my actions as the example, and I have to set it. So if I need to reset privately, sometimes I have to do that. So I always think that's a key piece. Remember, culture isn't what you say, it's what you repeat. I'm going to say that one more time for y'all. Culture isn't what you say, it's what you repeat. So let's get into the business, right? Because we all got business to do. This is the goal of what we're doing. I'm talking to you all as leaders, as restaurant managers, as general managers, as CEOs, as execs. This is our pre-shift to have with each other. This isn't for my restaurant staff. This is for us. And I think you have to go into your shift with focus. And when you go into your next shift with focus, you need to be thinking about what are the things that you want to achieve today. So set those small goals. What are those small wins for yourselves? What are those small wins for the guest or the team experience? Remember, your employee is actually your first customer. So what are the goals that you're setting, those short-term goals? What about operational improvement? What can you change to make the flow better, to make the conditions better? What's one thing you can fix in the establishment to make people's lives better? It actually just realized, saying that out loud, there's a burner that I need to fix at one of my restaurants that is driving one of my saute cooks crazy because they can't use it. And I'm going to make the call. That's my goal. When I go into my next shift, I am calling the restaurant technician to fix that one burner because that saute cook is going to be so happy that I made this small operational improvement. So you got to be very, very intentional about what you're going into that. Remember, slow down and listen. Coach, don't correct. Ask questions and be curious. I love that way of thinking. I love going into a shift with that mindset. I think it's a great position to lead from. I was my first management job, I was 19 years old, and I was responsible for over 50 employees. Some of them were 2 and 3 times my age. And what was unique about that is I couldn't lead them from experience because I was so young. I had to lead with curiosity, and I asked questions. What do you think? How would you handle that? Which direction would you suggest? What technique makes sense here? What strategy could we implement? Ask your team questions. They're going to give you so much information. You don't have to just coach. You don't have to correct. You can just ask questions. It's a great thing. Remember, your tone becomes the team's temperature. And are you rare, are you medium, or are you well done? I think that as a chef, we ask that question a lot. Are you rare today? Are you well done? Shouts out to Chow, because Chow came up with that one as far as I know. I love that one. Reflection. Always recap, always measure, have the evaluations post-service. What happened? Right? Here was my game plan. Here was my strategy. How did we perform? Did we win? Did we win the game? You got to ask yourself that question. And sometimes we don't. We just go right into the next shift. We get caught up in the busyness of the cycle of work, go home, go to sleep, wake up, refresh, go right back into it. Measure the performance of yesterday. Think about yesterday. Did you accomplish what you were after? Right? What worked? What didn't? What will you do differently tomorrow? And what kind of questions are you going to ask your staff when you create your pre-shift agenda for the next shift? Because that's what this is about. This is our pre-shift. I'm going to keep these going. I've been talking about doing a podcast with a few other people, and here's what I realized. Throughout the process, I realized that one, I was just waiting for somebody else to do it, and nobody else is going to do it except you. You got to do it. You just got to go for it. You got to create it. You got to make it happen. Nobody's going to do it for you. So step up. And that's what I'm doing here. I created my Skool community because I want a place where we can talk and we can collaborate and we can share education. And I'm building out all of these templates, these workshops, these courses, these things that can help restaurant owners across the country, leaders across the country that are struggling because they just don't know what to do next, or there's not a network that they've built. They don't have a support system that's allowed them to have answers when they need them. So I want to create this community. I don't want to just be another restaurant consultant. Let me help you solve your problems. That's not the goal. The goal is to build a community so we can help each other solve our problems. So I hope you join me on Skool. I'm really, really excited about this platform. This is something that's been in the works for years. It's finally coming together. I can't wait for you to see all the things that we've put together. But this is just real talk, real leadership, real results. Welcome to the Restaurant Pre-Shift.